Good morning, Custodians, and welcome to this video of chapter 5 in geography, that is agriculture. So let's start. So in this chapter, in the last video, we have seen the primary, secondary and tertiary activities and the factors that influence the agriculture. Now we will see different types of farming. The first one being subsistence farming. This type of farming is basically a farming practice which is used to meet the needs of the farmer's family, that is, the food grains are grown for self consumption. And since this is for self consumption, the traditional methods are used to produce the variety of crops, and the labor which is required is supplied by the family members themselves. In this type of farming, the productivity is quite low, therefore the farmers they remain poor. Then we have the shifting agriculture. In shifting agriculture, it is more witnessed in forested areas of the Amazon basin, the tropical parts of Africa and parts of Southeast Asia, and in Northeast India. The land is cleared by cutting and burning the bushes and trees, and the farming methods, that is the traditional or primitive methods, are used. Crops like yam, cassava, maize and potatoes are mostly grown. And after 2 to 3 years, when the soil loses its fertility, then the farmers they shift to other parts of forest, and this is called slash and burn agriculture. Although this farming practice is destructive, but it is still practiced in many parts of the world, and it is being known by different names in different parts of the world. In Northeast India, it is known as jhum cultivation. In Malay Peninsula, that is in Malaysia, it is known as ladang. It is in Philippines, it is known as chengin. In Central America as milpa, and in Venezuela it is known as konak. Roca in Brazil and Masol in Congo basin of Africa. Then we have the nomadic herding. The nomads, they were the tribals who used to wander from place to place in search of means of subsistence or living. The people who moved in search of pastures for their domesticated animals, they were known as nomadic herders, and their seasonal movement with livestock uphill during summer and downhill during winters is called transhumance. This nomadic herding is mainly practiced in the arid and semi-arid regions of Sahara Desert in Africa, in Central Asia and in some parts of India like Rajasthan and Jammu and Kashmir. The animals mostly reared include sheep, goats, camels and yaks, which provide food and also provide wool and hides, which are used to make clothes and shelters. The nomadic herders, since they are not permanent settlers, so they do not have permanent dwellings, they live in tents which can be dismantled easily, and then they move from one place to another. Then we have sedentary farming. In this type of farming, the people or the man who used to be a hunter gatherer, who used to wander here and there in search of food, they start leading a settled life when they expertized the practice of agriculture, and they learned how to maintain the soil fertility. So the growth of food grains, it is started, and the people they started leading a settled life. And this farming practice, earlier it was meant for self consumption, but later on with improvements in it, it was used as a major source of raw material for so many processing industries. And this type of farming is called sedentary farming. In this we have intensive farming. The maximum possible output is tried to get from a small plot of land by making use of simple tools and abundant human labor. That is called intensive farming. The places which are densely populated in the countries of the monsoon tropical region, in such places this intensive farming is practiced, and due to long growing season and fertile soil, the farmers they grow 2 or 3 crops annually on the same piece of land, and the most important crop, that is rice, is grown along with wheat, maize, sugarcane, pulses and oil seeds. Now we have commercial farming. In this, the crops are and livestock are grown and maintained not for self consumption but for sale in the market. Since it is used for commercial purpose, so the farms, they are not fields, they are actually, the piece of lands are converted into large farms, and the investment required is quite high. Also, the farmers they try to keep the cost of production low. That's why most of the farm work is done by machines. And this commercial farming can be intensive or extensive, and it is practiced in prairies of North America, which are known as the grain basket of the world, also the pampas of South America and the steppes of Eurasia. Now we have extensive farming. Like we have seen intensive farming, that is practiced on densely populated areas. Opposite to that, the areas which are sparsely populated, that is where the people living are less and the land is in abundance. At such places extensive farming is done, and this is more suitable. The land holdings being too large and the farm work being done by machines, the commercial crops are grown, generally 1 or 2 commercial crops are grown on the same field of land in an year, and mainly wheat and maize are grown by making use of extensive farming techniques. Since the total output is high, but the yield or the productivity per hectare is low because the soil is not such fertile that it can support in such an arid and sparsely populated land. In some areas where extensive farming is practiced, the winter season is too long, and this long winter season restricts the growing season. In such areas, only a single crop can be grown. Now we have mixed farming. In this, along with the crop farming, the livestock are reared and fodder crops are cultivated along with the food crops to feed the livestock. Cattle rearing for milk and meat is an important feature of mixed farming, and this is mostly practiced in thickly populated areas of the European continent, USA, Argentina, Southeast Australia, New Zealand and South Africa. The farmers, they follow a well developed system of crop rotation, and using this system the soil fertility is retained and the productivity or the yield becomes high. Means of transportation, efficient methods of farming and ready market in the nearby places ensure good returns for the farmers. That's why they practice this. Then we have plantation agriculture. It is also a type of commercial farming which was introduced by the Europeans in the tropical and subtropical regions. The farms, they were known as estates, which were very large in size, and efficient scientific methods or techniques were used along with cheap and skilled labor. But since the scientific methods are used, so heavy investment or huge capital investments were required for these estates to get cultivated, and generally a single crop, that is the tea or coffee or sugarcane or rubber, banana, spices and other and cotton, such crops are grown by transplanting them into the main field, and the plantations, they are managed like industrial units. Like we have the rubber plantations in Malaysia, coffee plantations in Brazil, tea plantations in India, and banana plantations in West Indies. Now we have dairy farming. This dairy farming has been developed to meet the needs of the industrial cities. In this, the livestock is reared, and this livestock is reared for milk, to provide milk to the nearby big cities, so that the dairy demands or the demands of the city people, they can be met relating to the dairy products. These dairy farms, they need a large labor force to look after the cattle, and now at present machineries are used for milking, feeding and cleaning the cattle. But still, since the huge capital investments are required, therefore only a few people can practice this dairy farming, not all. So that's all we have in this video. Thank you and have a nice day.